Hey friends, me again. So, there's 3 things that I love, okay, that are super satisfying. 1, stripping paint off of furniture. 2, finishing a complete project and looking at before and after pictures. And 3, watching cake decorating videos. And don't say that you don't watch them, and don't be lying. So, I am going to be showing you guys, we're going to be stripping the paint off of this, and we are going to be making over this whole sideboard because it is a mess. Stay tuned if you guys want to see that. Hey everybody, my name is Crys'Dawna. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, I am a furniture artist. If you are new here, please hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell and you'll get all the latest videos I put out. Everything I use will be in the description below. If you are not new here, welcome back, friends and family. Thank you so much for coming back. Today we are going to be making over this sideboard. We're going to be using red. Believe it or not, red used to be my favorite color. Now all the colors are my favorite color. So we're gonna be doing some blending with reds, and we're gonna be using some black wax, and we're just gonna give this a nice, classy makeover. If you guys wanna see that, make sure you guys stay tuned. First thing that I did is remove the pre-existing finish, which was a paint, kind of like a latex paint, with a chemical stripper. I put this chemical stripper on with a cheap chip brush and I let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then I take my plastic scraper that I love so much and I scrape it up. You can see right here that when it starts bubbling like that, that means that it's starting to pull up from the surface and it's ready for you to scrape. So I'm going to scrape it with my plastic scraper, that way I don't scratch the surface. So that's why I like a plastic scraper versus a metal scraper. And then after I'm done removing all of the paint, I am going to neutralize the surface with mineral spirits. Mineral spirits allows you to neutralize so that way the chemical stripper can stop. I call it the cooking process. And it also opens up the wood grain for when you are ready to stain afterwards. It also helps get rid of any residue that is left behind. I removed all of the hardware off of the doors, and I'm going to remove all the hinges because I want to get all of the paint off of these areas, and you're going to see what I'm going to do here in a little bit to get the paint off of these hinges. I wanted to have the best surface possible, so I took my Surf Prep 3x4 electric ray and I used a 120 grit, and I am removing all of the old paint off of the surface. Now you don't have to remove everything, I just want to make sure that I get it so that the finish is nice and smooth. So I'm getting anything that's compromised, maybe it seemed like it was peeling, and so that way I have the best surface possible to repaint. Now I am going to remove the paint off of these hinges. So I'm just taking a pot that I use specifically for doing this with hardware, and I'm going to just put water in there. It's just water, and I'm boiling it. And you can see right here, after about 10 minutes, the paint is starting to peel off. So I boil it for about 20 minutes, and then you can see right here I dropped it. It's a little bit hot. Once the hardware has boiled for 20 minutes, I'm going to take the pot and remove it from the heat. So that way it cools down a little bit. And I'm going to go and use some paper towels, set these on the paper towels, and I'm going to use a wire brush, and I'm going to scrub the hardware so that way I can get that paint to come off. So the hardware might be a little bit hot, and that's why I'm using needle nose pliers right now. Give it a few minutes and then you'll be able to hold it with your hand. I use gloves just because you know, you can get all that gunk and stuff all over you. So this is how you do this. I take a wire brush, and then the paint on the very top of this hinge was pretty thick, and so I just used the needle nose pliers and pulled the paint right off of there. But you'll see after this, I did this to every single hinge, and they just look so much better. So this is a really easy way to get paint off of hinges and hardware. I replaced all the hinges and you can see them on here. They look much nicer than the glopped on paint that was there. This piece has been sanded down and it is ready for me to clean it. So I do clean my pieces with Dixie Belle's White Lightning before I paint them, even if I've sanded, even if I've used a chemical stripper, because you can see right here that there's still some dirt that comes off on this microfiber cloth. So I want to make sure that my surface is super clean. That way I don't have any problems with adhesion. You are going to want to go over this with a clean water and a clean rag when you are using a TSP based cleaner so you don't have any adhesion issues as well. And now I'm going to tape off the hinges so that way I don't get paint on the hinges that I just removed. This is just easier. I could have just not put the hinges on here, but I want to be able to see later on when I'm blending, and so it's really just taping it off is also a better option, or it's an easy option, so you can just paint with the doors in. Before I do any kind of blending, I am going to put 2 coats of Barn Red on this entire piece. And so I have not put the drawers and doors back in so that I can get the shell of the piece. Then I will put the doors and the drawers back in, put Barn Red on them, and then I like to keep the drawers and the doors in when I am blending so that way I can visualize a lot better, but I do remove things quite often so that way I can seal them or finish them or wax them or anything like that. So these are things that you don't see in the video, is how many times I take the drawers out or put the doors on or take them back off just to get a really nice professional finish. So now I'm going to go in and blend. I have 2 coats of Barn Red on the entire piece, and you can see right here I have a brush for each color, and then I have a clean, dry, neutral brush. So we're working with the Barn Red and the Honky Tonk Red right now. What I'm going to do is I am going to mist the surface so that way my blending is a little bit easier. It is the summer here, and so you want to make sure that you keep your paint, that you want moisture in your paint so that way they blend a little bit easier. So once it starts catching, you need to have moisture on there, so you need to mist it. I'm going to put my Honky Tonk Red in the center, and then I'm going to outline it with the Barn Red. And this is going to bring a highlight to the center. These colors are very similar that I'm blending on this piece. And so it's a very, very subtle look. But once you have put the wax on there, it all comes together. It just adds layers and dimension that you wouldn't have had before if you just did Barn Red and then wax on top of it. So I'm taking my neutral brush right here and I am blending those in. And now I'm going to go in with Rustic Red and I'm going to outline the entire drawer so that I can add a shading effect. So shading creates a darker effect, whereas in the center there was highlighting, so that's a lighter effect. So I'm going to go in with my Rustic Red with a brush with my Rustic Red, and I'm also going to take my clean, dry, neutral brush that I used for my other ones, and I'm just going to do circles, horizontal, and I'm going to blend it all in. So it may not seem like a huge, crazy, dramatic blend on here, but this is also great for beginners to practice how to blend, because that is the way that you get better at blending, is by just practicing and doing it with colors that are very similar. Even though this is a very subtle blend, you can see the difference. So the center is blended and then the right side doesn't have any kind of blending on it. So you can definitely see the difference on here. And then when we add the wax, it's just going to deepen it even more. So I'm going to prime my surface with a clear wax. And what this does is it is going to allow my dark wax to move easier, and I'll be able to remove it easier. So I'm gonna put my Easy Peasy spray wax on there, allow it to dry for about an hour, and now I'm going in with my black Best Dang wax, and I am going to go in all the areas that I went in with my Rustic Red. So we're adding a shading effect, and I'm going to add the wax onto there. I'm also gonna add it into the areas like those little flowers that you see, the details, so that way we can make those pop a little bit more. The way that this piece was painted before just didn't show all the character of this piece. So I want to make sure I get the dark wax or the black wax in cracks and crevices just to add even more character. I'm going to wipe back with a microfiber cloth right away the excess wax, and then once I wipe it back, I can really assess where I want it to be lighter. And this is where my Easy Peasy spray wax will come in, because I'm going to spray the areas that I want to pull even more wax off to lighten it up, and that will remove the wax. So I'm going to use it as an eraser. So not only is the Easy Peasy spray wax going to get my surface ready for a colored wax, but it's also going to allow me to remove the colored wax by acting as an eraser as well. And so you can spray the surface with the wax and wipe it back, or you'll see me, I spray the actual rag with the wax so that I can target specific areas. So you can see right here how it's allowing me to wipe back even more. So we still can see that blending and shading, and you can see the highlighting, and then this black wax just adds even more dimension to this piece. Again, I want to show you the piece after the wax has been added, and to the left, that's just the blended part, but to the right, you can see where all the wax is on the piece. So the door on the lower left does not have wax, everything else does, and you can just see how much more dimension that wax adds. If you want it darker, you can keep it darker. If you want it lighter, take a little bit more off. Now I'm going to teach you how to paint metal hardware the right way. I will be using chalk mineral paint to change the color of this hardware to black. But before I do that, I'm going to use Slick Stick, which is a gripping primer, a bonding primer, and this allows me to paint on any surface that is not wood, and that way the paint doesn't chip. Now, sometimes you'll see me painting the hardware and the hinges on pieces that are rustic, and I don't quite do this, which is not a big deal because that goes with the piece, but this piece is not rustic. This is more elegant, and I don't want this hardware to chip. And so because I don't want these keyhole covers to chip, I'm going to use this gripping bonding primer before I paint them with Caviar. So I'm going to do one coat, wait a few hours, do my second coat of Slick Stick. I wait 24 hours afterwards, and then I paint it with my paint. But here's the thing, you see me stippling it on because I do not want thick layers. So thin layers, nice and even, is what you're going to want so that it's not glopped on there. So I'm doing nice thin stippling layers of the Caviar. And I'm going to probably do 2 layers of the Caviar on here, and then I'm going to allow it to dry, and you will see how I seal these off in a couple minutes. I waited about 48 hours for my black wax to dry, and now I'm going to go in with my satin clear coat, and I'm just going to seal the entire piece. I don't have to do this, but this is a custom and I want to make sure it lasts forever, so any extra protection really is just a plus. I am going to do the frame of the piece first, then I'll put the drawers in and have the doors on, and then I will go and seal those as well. And then you will see that I am going to put that hardware that we just painted back on because it is dry, and I'm going to seal it with the satin clear coat. So then it will last forever. Not only will it not chip because it had the bonding primer, but now it'll be sealed, and so it will not chip. It'll last forever right here. Because the true color of the hinges came out to about a gold, I decided that this piece needs some gold gilding wax. So I'm taking the gold gilding wax and I am going to just lightly dry brush it on the entire piece to really just bring everything together, bring it classy, sophisticated, and it just adds an element. Plus it brings these hinges together so that they're just not sticking out. There's not these gold hinges with nothing else. So the red, the black, and the gold have gone together perfectly. Okay everybody, so this piece is done, the video is done. I hope you enjoyed that. Pretty simple makeover with just a few different colors. You can learn the basics of blending, not too hard, how to use the wax. I did end up sealing this piece, the top of it with gator hide. I didn't show that, but I do show that in a lot of videos. So if you go back to a few of my videos, you can see how I do that with a high density foam roller. I think the last video did it, so I'll just pop it right here for you. If you are not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get all the latest videos. Remember, everything I use will be in the description below. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend, have an awesome week, happy creating, and I will see you guys later. Bye!
Oh my love, you're such a fragile thing, I know. And with the winter comes the ice, the snow, but I'm here to hold. And oh my love, don't worry about the cold just yet. The trees haven't started to shed. Just feel the summer sun as it warms our bed. I'm lying, and I'm lying.